fun collaboration, and why not making the next great movie together? Let's create the movie magic. How do you balance artistic storytelling with technical innovation like motion capture and AI integration?
So I would say all these are kind of instruments or mediums for storytelling. At least with motion capture, it has been a technology that has been used for quite some time to enhance storytelling. From AI perspective, I'm speaking from digital human perspective, not only film production. It's definitely enhancing more the engagement and creating more personalized, responsive, and custom experience with the people or the audience that is trying to engage with that character. So I would see it as a kind of an add-on, but definitely not changing the whole process of storytelling. Probably diverging a little bit in different directions, trying to do some experimental work, and also blending new content that is created.
Thank you. With the increase of AI-driven avatars and digital intention, what ethical considerations are most important to you and your team when creating digital humans for brands and real individuals?
So for conversational AI avatars, definitely one thing is trust, which comes with consent and transparency. So basically, definitely one big point when we create AI generated content is to label it as such, especially if you have a agent or some kind of a digital human who is AI powered to respond to that. We more work that is related to celebrities or people we work directly with. Obviously, in that process, it's a lot of consent and a lot of contracts and NDAs put in place, which normally are done with the talent management agency, but with the consent of the person. So, for example, I'll give an example. During the COVID, we had designed a digital campaign for Burberry with Naomi Campbell, but it was during COVID, so no travel, obviously. So we had to rebuild her in 3D for a whole interactive online campaign from reference images. And basically in that process, the consent was agreed with her, she knew what it is about, and it was all managed by the production company or the talent agency that is in charge of the project to happen. So it's not like we rebuilt everyone without having the consent. And one other important aspect, we often get asked, because we work a lot with fashion as well, to create models or personas. And sometimes the workaround around this is to create characters that haven't existed. And in that case, you don't have a problem with identity, because from a concept art, you create a character, then you build it, and it's basically based over someone who never existed. So that's one way to do it.
Mimic Production has collaborated with global brands and major productions. Which emerging markets or industry most important for the future with digital humans and why?
So the digital human market definitely has changed a lot because the technology just became more popular, and you can see it emerging in a lot of new fields like social media, virtual influencers, and some other domains. But from my perspective, I think the most interesting ones are definitely virtual influencers, especially for brands, because it's a whole new domain that is very interesting. First of all, because you have full control of how the story will evolve with that character. You also have kind of a security and trust in that persona will evolve, because sometimes if you, let's say, work with a certain person, he gets bad media, he gets into something that actually can ruin the brand's name or the brand, the brand image. So sometimes brands are very selective who they want to work with, and that's definitely one way to address this. Another, definitely the language barrier. As we know, AI-powered characters can speak almost every language now in the world, and accessibility 24/7. So definitely e-commerce, retail, and I would say virtual influencers in a way are definitely areas where I see more and more digital human work coming into place. But obviously there are a lot of other domains like healthcare, education, basically those different kind of industries.
What is the biggest operational and technological challenge in scaling high quality digital human production, and how you are preparing Mimic production for the future?
So from a technical perspective, definitely the fact that AI technology is developing very quickly, and pretty much on a weekly basis you have new tool, new update, new workflow, something very new. So I think keeping up with the trend is definitely one of the challenges, because by the time you really understand the workflow, you implement it, you test it, you validate it, you know it works, it's already outdated. So that's definitely a challenge, and one of the things we're trying to see is also what of the tools or the AI-powered tech that exists actually makes sense, because there's also a lot of noise, as we know, on social media and in general, with kind of spreading information that doesn't really reflect how good the tool is and how much it can deliver. So definitely a lot of experimentation, testing out, seeing how far we can push with that, and if it actually makes sense to use or not. So definitely that's a very, like the tech adoption and tech transformation is a big part. And from operational, I think the biggest one is related to awareness, because when 2D avatars became super mainstream, you know, like with platforms like HeyGen, Synthesion, all that, which are 2D based avatars, video based, you know, with a lot of limitations. Basically, people don't really understand the line between 2D and 3D and what you can do with 3D, because you have much more control over the asset. Also, you know, how you can shape it, you can re-edit, and you can implement in any kind of a digital device, basically, because you can run it out of a game engine. So there's a lot of limitations to 2D, and I think when we talk about avatars and digital humans, a lot of people who are coming from other industries, not necessarily VFX or entertainment tech, they don't really understand, so we have to actually explain a lot, and I think that's a big challenge, you know, getting people to know exactly what is digital humans.
Maybe someone is interested in your. Do you have questions? And before that, can you say how they can reach out to your company, some details?
Yeah, basically our website is mimicproductions.com. We're based in Berlin. We have the contact details here, but of course, if someone wants to connect, I'm here for the next, I don't know, hour or so. So very happy to exchange also some personal email. Okay.
Can you give us? We have a small present for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, good. We take.
I have maybe two questions, or maybe a follow-up.
I hope I can help you.
Yeah. The first question would be, who came up with the definition of a digital human? What does it actually mean? And the difference between AI avatars, or as you call it, digital humans, and people who have hearts and soul. Are you also planning or trying to tackle that? How to achieve what a human can do to another human, like reach them on a very deep level, on an emotional level, on an understanding level, on a level that moves you, like why we do cinema and stuff? Or are you trying to just capture a market, create a product and sell it? Or are you also interested in really achieving what humans, only humans can do?
So maybe I'll start with the last point, because it's the one I remember the last. So basically, to give some context, the company was founded by David Bennett, who is not here today, but he was in charge of the technical team on the facial animation of Avatar 1, back in the days, working with Violeta. And basically the idea was how you can bring that state of realism and this engagement that you can see of an actual creature being character that is non-human. So there was a lot of work done in general to address the uncanny valley, which was for a long time, and it got addressed somehow. But now we have uncanny valley because of AI and how the avatar responds, how the movements are, how the animations are, and stuff like that. So one thing we're doing, because we're coming from a background related to like emotional engagement and creating content that is really visually high realistic and high fidelity. Basically, the idea is when we create an AI character, for example, there's a lot of work related to the personality, the brand awareness, the guardrails, so a lot of things that you need to shape personality and not just putting a face to a chatbot. I think that's one of the main things, and definitely we want to capture some essence, like humanistic characters into the character, and using like humanistic traits into the character in order to really bring that engagement. The other question was about digital human term. I think there have been a lot of development in the term because some people call it virtual beings, other digital humans, but basically it comes from the idea that you 3D scan an object or a person and then you replace a real world asset into the digital world. So this is history based, I would say, but basically any kind of technology that is related to bring photorealism and some kind of a environment duplicated in a digital realm that still is connected to the physical is called digital human technology. So basically it could be assets for games when you want to bring, let's say, a sword from a game from a real world to a game. When you want to do clothing, actually fashion is a very big brand of ours because we do a lot of clothing simulations which are used for pre-clothes production, like textures, movements and stuff like that. So there's a lot to the term digital human technology, but the idea is that you can simulate and create a digital replica kind of based on the real world. And now with AI and with all the curiosity of our field to even see how far we can go. I hope that kind of answers, but I could speak a lot, so I will stop here not to take too much time.
Thank you once again.